a visual artist, and my work explores themes of women's position in society, the monster narrative, and our position as humans against the environment by reinventing classic folk tales and looking at them from a contemporary perspective. So I got into art because I had two very competitive grandmothers who were both really keen amateur artists, and one would teach me to paint with watercolours, and the next one would up the game and teach me how to do the masking off with watercolours, and it became a bit of a competition between the two of them. And I always enjoyed art, and then having the encouragement to spend a lot of time on it really helped. At school I was really bad at knitting, sewing and crochet, so I got to do even more watercolours and painting lessons, and I just found it was something I really enjoyed and wanted to do all the time. I root most of my work in draftsmanship and observation, which might sound a bit strange since a lot of it is about mythology and mythical creatures, but I find looking at objects, looking at the world around me is one of my big sources of inspiration. So I normally start with just simple pencil drawings, HB pencil, piece of paper, looking at a tree, a rock, a stone, looking at paintings. I get a lot of inspiration from art objects and from going around museums and art galleries. After I've got an idea of how I want the structure of something to look via using the pencil and paper, I then either go into ink and wash, acrylic or oil painting. In the past few years I've also discovered digital drawing since I got a tablet and an Apple Pencil. That's been a way to replace having a sketch pad, replace always having to remember to take boards around with me, or as an addition to taking boards around with me actually, because I still tend to take a board and a pencil with me. And from that interest in digital drawing, I have got into laser engraving and found ways to use the digital tools that are there to replicate some of the drawing, to work further on it, and to condense the amount of time spent on hand drawing into an hour rather than 50 hours by using digital methods. So a big part of my practice is digital laser engraved work and mixed media work using ink plus laser engraving plus painting. And on the other side it's very much just black ink on paper and brightly coloured oil paints in limited palettes. I think each material has a different weight and a different feel to it, and quite often the choice of material links in to the subject matter. So my current series, which is exploring George and the Dragon, came about through doing a drawing day at Coventry Cathedral and finding a small piece of work on the back of a wooden piece that was carved of this motif, and thinking there's a lot to get your teeth into, because you've got that battle between a human and a monster, you've got good versus evil, you've also got, well, the dragon is the last of its species, that's humanity causing extinction, you've got the role of the princess as a foil. So with that, I started to think about the environment, so the position of the dragon in the environment as the last of its species, and so I wanted to use materials that were very sustainable. I'd already committed to trying to make my practice more sustainable, so a lot of the work is done on upcycled signage, so old signs that are discarded and then they're cut up into acrylic pieces. I've also worked a lot with wood, a little bit with leather, and with heavyweight rag paper. Lots of different artists who've influenced me and who continue to influence me. I'm always finding new artists that I get very excited about. An artist I recently discovered whose work I've just absolutely fallen in love with is Alison Elizabeth Taylor, who uses a combination of veneer and oil painting, which just have beautiful effects. Crivelli. I like all the texture in his work, lots of gold, lots of decoration. I was lucky enough a few years ago to get a painting pass for the National Gallery, and I worked off some of the Netherlands Renaissance pieces which was amazing. So I'm a big fan of the Dutch Renaissance. In fact, and the German Renaissance. Lucas Cranach the Elder, massive influence on my work. I reference him quite a lot in the current series. I also love El Greco. I feel like this is just going to become a list of every artist I've ever seen because I like them all. When I was a child, one of the big groups to influence was the Pre-Raphaelites because I grew up near Birmingham. So whenever we would go into Birmingham museums and art galleries, we would see a lot of Pre-Raphaelite work, and their use of very bright colour and almost hyper-realism, especially with Holman Hunt, was a big impact on me as a child. I get pretty excited about almost every artist I see, to be honest, because I feel like you only have to sit with the work for long enough to understand what it's trying to tell you and to start building a communion with this other artist. So I get really enthusiastic about pretty much everything I see and take away different things from different artists. But the classic ones and the big colourful ones probably have the most influence. One of the most memorable experiences I've had was working with Edge Art Bath, University of Bath and the Milner Centre for Evolution. I worked on a commission piece after I won the Visions of Science Award in 2018. And I not only got to go in and spend time with some of the top brains in the world in this area, they broke it down, explained it to me, they gave me all these amazing ideas. They explained how important flies were, so they had a fly in the picture. I got to do portraits of the different academics, and I ended up looking at the Cambrian explosion theory, if that's the right name for it, and cell structures, and trying to incorporate some of those into it. And I also referenced artwork that was more folkish in its background, with a depiction of the world from a mystical depiction. So combining the two things, so sort of the mysticism origins with the science, and that was just such a fun project to do, and then exhibit the painting at the end of it. And I just really enjoyed meeting all the people and being able to create something for them. At the moment, the direction I feel like my work is going in is there are a lot of bigger paintings coming down the line. I've done a lot of 12 by 16 inch studies on just canvas board, using a limited palette in oil paint, and from those I'm scaling them up to 90 by 120 centimetres onto big board panels, and again using a very limited palette of at most 5 colours, really heavily focusing on 2 main contrasting colours, and bringing the series into a lot more bold, colourful pieces that kind of take it back to the origins in the 2 colour paper cuts. That's what I'm going to be working on for the next few months. At the same time though doing that, I'm also working on a project with Heart Charged, which is raising awareness of undiagnosed cardiac conditions, especially in women. And for that I'm referencing a lot of classic art pieces that depict women, and I'm working with some other fantastic artists to bring an exhibition together. So that is also going on at the same time. In the longer term, I'm hoping that by the end of 2024 I will have got all of the paintings done for my George and the Dragon series. That will be absolutely show ready and shipping itself off to a venue. And from there, I'm not sure what the next series is going to be, but it would also be something like hooked onto a myth or a legend and exploring it from there in ink and then in paint with some laser engravings thrown in along the way.